This episode is brought to you by Communications Training for Coffee Teams, a new Map It Forward workshop tailored to get your team communicating more confidently to improve general mental health as well as business profitability. Click the link in the show notes for further details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series where we are talking about an internship, a paid internship that is being offered at Monarch Coffee Farm in Hawaii. And with me today is Abby Muñoz. Abby, today on the podcast, we are talking about why you're offering this internship that has 6 positions. So to kick it off, I want to talk about the fact that there's a labor shortage going on around the world for coffee pickers. This is something that Alejandro Cadena from Caravella has been talking about on LinkedIn. George Howe spoke about it on the podcast in the previous series. A lot of my friends who are coffee producers are complaining about the fact that they can't get access to pickers, and this is driving the cost of production up. And, you know, together with a lot of the other economic challenges that are happening around the world, this is really going to become a problem for the end consumer. To give the folks that are listening an understanding of the gravitas of the problem, in El Salvador, they have lost 2/3 of their picking community. So there were 3 million pickers in El Salvador. I hope I've got my numbers right. They have lost 2 million out of 3 million pickers. This is an extraordinary strain that this puts on an entire coffee industry. So, Abby, when it comes to, in the last episode, you told us how you came to come up with the internship. Why is it so important for you to figure it out and do and offer this internship?
I lose way too much crop, right? So I lose so much yield, or we,
Yep,
Monarch
Coffee.
But right, if we can't get that fruit off of the tree, and because we are only selecting the ripest fruit possible, right? There's that red color, but we want that fruit maturation to happen on the tree as much as possible. And so when I have pickers that call and say, we're out another week, I don't have that space, right? And so that space and time, and that time on the fruit.
Have you lost fruit before in previous harvests because of this?
Okay. Quite a bit of harvest. In 2020, we had kind of gotten to this dynamic again, and the day after day, they kept calling and saying they weren't coming. And there was an unexpected storm that came and hit Kona called a Kona storm. And it's this big storm front that comes in from like the southeast. It brings in really heavy rains and really heavy winds. And we got, I want to say like 19 inches, some crazy amount of rain within a 24-hour period. It forced all of that fruit into over ripening from the rain. No. We lost tree branches that were just laden with fruit. And for us, the peak of our harvest is in November and December, and this happened in December. And then it also then forced the trees into this premature flowering. And there wasn't much that we can do, and except kind of lean into what those flavor profiles might be. And we kind of pivoted and created a processing method that we felt kind of supported that fruit extra ripening on the tree, right? Like leaned into that fermentation that happened. But yeah, so we lost that crop pretty significantly. And the other piece of it that happens is coffee pickers don't generally want to pick what you want them to pick, right? It's really hard to get them.
Wow.
It's different than like in Colombia or Panama, where they really take pride in the fruit that they select. And in Hawaii, most of the pickers that come in are just about getting what they can get and as much as they can, and not understanding that, I mean, if you keep coming to work every day when you're supposed to, you'll get paid the same amount of money. Yeah. Right? It's the same amount of weight. But it consistently proves to be a challenge. And So I kind of thought, let's help build up our yields and by not losing so much. So
and when we were having this conversation and we were talking about like, who are we going to try and attract to this internship so that this is a win-win for the people who are picking as well as for Monarch. Like in my mind, there was a massive missed opportunity here for people who are baristas or roasters or, people who are working on the consuming end who have always wanted to actually be able to go and work on a farm and be able to kind of support themselves for that time. Go ahead.
Well, what was really eye-opening for me was we had a cafe owner from Northern California come and visit our farm. And they've been there, they roast and have a cafe and for 18 years. And I thought, when they came up and I'm talking about whole fruit naturals and washed, what kind of coffee you're looking for. And when they started chatting and talking about what's that? And I thought to myself, what do you mean, what's that? You're a coffee roaster. How do you not know that there are anything about coffee, right? Yeah. So the reality is they know that there is this bag that you open, you put in a machine, they roast, and it creates this delicious coffee. And so that's where I really opened my mind and thought to myself, this internship should not just be directed towards students who are in agriculture, which is where we had been going to seek students, was always just kids, because our daughter went to college and she's gotten amazing jobs and they came from work experience. There were people giving her opportunity for internships. She was 15 years old and got to do an internship at Maui Ocean Center in Maui at 15 years old, an internship that was designed only for college students, and she was selected. And I thought, I want to pay that forward, right? So
shout out to Madeline
Muñoz, real life mermaid, shark bait,
total rock star.
But the reality was that, oh my gosh, there are professionals in the industry who don't know this side of the industry. Or I go to a roasting class in Kansas City and I'm sitting at a table with 10 other coffee roasters and talking about the cost of green bean. And they're like, oh my gosh, you what? They don't understand. Kona coffee is it's grown in the US. It's expensive to grow it, right? I can't sell it for that. And so there's this gap. And I thought, this is where let's meet people there.
I love
it.
So
open it to the baristas, open it to coffee roasters, open it up to people who think that they want to be in coffee. How there are so many coffee consultants that can consult on how to build a strong cafe and how to clean equipment.
But they don't know the complex agricultural part of all of this. This is such a huge opportunity. And this is why I wanted to do this series, is because we have a global problem with this, but this is a global opportunity. And I hope more producers, excuse me, I hope more producers take the opportunity to pick up the signal of what you're doing and replicate it on their farms. There's a great opportunity for people to work together to learn more about all of this.
I'll sign up to go intern at, a really famous female farm someplace.
Shout out to Rachel Peterson. I know that's where you're looking.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the next episode, we're gonna talk about some specifics about what you can expect to learn during this internship, because it's not just about coffee picking, folks. So join us in the next episode to get all the details. Thanks, Abby. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.